Once the trimester is over and teaching and marking are done, there's a perfect time to reflect on how the course went and where were the successes and the failures. It's important to evaluate our courses for a number of reasons. We want to ensure that the learning outcomes were met, understand how students performed, and whether everyone enjoyed the experience. So reflecting on these issues will help us to understand how we can improve our course for future offerings. There are a number of sources that we can draw on to help us improve our courses for the future. Firstly, we know from our own experiences and instincts what went well and what didn't work so well in each class. At the end of each lecture, I like to jot down the things that seemed to go really smoothly and the things that perhaps students didn't seem to understand so well, and keep a journal of these as the semester progresses. And that way, when I go to redesign my course or update the notes for the following trimester, I can look back on those notes and decide what needs to be changed and delivered in a slightly different way to make it more accessible to students. If I didn't keep notes immediately after the lecture, then I'd completely forget about it for next year and think the whole thing was going smoothly, and I wouldn't make the changes, and I would never make that improvement as the trimesters go on. Another really important source of information can be your tutors, because often they get much closer to the students and they have a better idea of what students are struggling with. Another obvious point is student feedback, and we have our SECs and our SETs which give us some information about whether students like the course or not. We know that these days they sometimes have a little bit of a problem with validity because they have low response rates, and many students don't bother to give you that quality open-ended comments, but they are a starting point. They'll give you some idea if there's some consistent themes that students are bringing up that they found difficult about the course. Another option is to speak to your students directly. I like to ask at the end of the final lecture students to just toss around some ideas about what they really enjoyed about the course, what they found really difficult, and how they feel it could be improved for future offerings. Again, it's not a perfectly representative sample because not all students are attending lectures, but again, it gives you some ideas about what's going through their minds. There's also a whole range of peer evaluation opportunities. We have peer mentoring, peer evaluation and observation, and we're starting to see the use of external peer review, which will likely become more of an opportunity into the future. And then finally, there's the theoretical literature. We're always telling our students that they should back up their points with references, and so we need to practice what we preach and base our educational philosophy on verifiable research. That doesn't necessarily mean we have to trawl through the education journals, as none of us have time for that. But we can get a lot of great insights by attending the teaching community of practice meetings, and even just by having discussions with colleagues in the corridor. The Bitham Course Improvement site also has a lot of valuable resources and links to things that we can use to really improve our teaching for the future. So check it out before you start working on your new course profiles for next year. And remember, it doesn't have to be perfect first time. Course development is a continual cycle of reflection, planning, action, and observation.